الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in his glorious book in Surah Yunus chapter 10 in verse 62 بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Unquestionably, for the allies of Allah there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. Many times having a powerful ally among men is something, a lot of people are happy with. I know so-and-so, so-and-so is connected. How about if your protector and your friend is Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala? How great is that? Now Allah's allies, awliya Allah, they are protected. They have no fear for what's coming in the future, and they have no regrets for what happened in the past, because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala forgives their past and takes care of them in the future. We skipped a couple of verses. In verse 64, Allah says, لَهُمُ الْبُشْرَى فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. For them are good tidings in the worldly life and in the hereafter. No change is there in the words of Allah. That is the great attainment. That is the attainment. When Allah is your Walii, that is when you say, I've made it. I've made it in this life. And these words from Allah, Allah says, لا تبديل لكلمات الله. It's set. If you are a friend and ally of Allah, if Allah is your Walii, your caretaker, then you have all of this. It's not going to change. So the glad tidings is in this life and in the next. Such a great status, but who are these allies, awliya Allah? And the verse that I skipped, verse 63, tells us a little bit more about them. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ in verse 63. Those who believed and were mindful of Allah. Those are awliya Allah. That they believe in Allah and they have taqwa. And having both of these qualifies them to be part of that elite group, the friends of Allah, the ones that Allah takes care of them and supports them. And taqwa in its widest meaning is that Allah finds you where He orders you and does not find you where He forbade you. Because you are constantly God conscious. Before you do anything, before you say anything, does this please Allah? Does this anger Allah? That's when you have taqwa, that's what it does to you. You always ask yourself before you do anything or say anything, does this please Allah? Does this anger Him? Those are the people al-muttaqeen. So if you are one of those people that believe in Allah and constantly observing what are you doing and it doesn't conform to what Allah wants you to do, then you are among this awliya Allah. Now again, as humans, we will all make mistakes. Taqwa can never be 100% unless you're a prophet. We make mistakes, we make istighfar. Allah gave us the mechanism when we make mistakes how to amend for it. So your level of taqwa decides your level of awliya Allah. Are you a strong wali, a medium? As long as taqwa is dominant in your life, inshallah you're among this list of awliya Allah. Because nobody can be 100%. We have to make mistakes. That's in our nature. Another dimension we get from one of the authentic hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, narrating upon the Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم was narrating upon for Allah تبارك وتعالى. إن الله تعالى قال من عاد لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب. Whoever shows enmity to a wali of mine, to a friend of mine, then I have declared war against them. So these are awliya Allah, they're supported and protected by Allah. And then the rest of the hadith gives us a little bit more nuance as to what the qualities of those awliya are. وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. My servant does not draw near me except with things that I have enjoined on him. That means Allah told you to pray, to pay zakat, to say shahada. You do all of these things that Allah made it obligatory on you. So that's the first part, is you keep doing what Allah told you to do and Allah will love you. وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبُّهُ. But my servant keeps coming closer to me with optional acts. So now you go from the obligatory acts to the optional acts, and Allah will love you even more. That's how you get closer to Allah. You don't get closer to Allah by stating, Ya Allah, I love you. Well, great. What are you doing to show this love? Do you pray on time? Do you pray sunnah? Do you pray qiyam al-layl? Do you give charity? Zakat you have to pay, but charity is on top of zakat. Do you pay more? Do you give from your wealth, from your experience, from your time, from your effort? I mean, these are all optional things that when you do it for the sake of Allah, you get closer to Allah. So as you get closer and closer to Allah, you become a bigger and bigger wali of Allah. And فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ كُنْتُ سَمْعُهُ الَّذِي يَسْمَعُ بِهِ. When Allah loves you, He becomes your hearing. That means you hear what Allah loves you to hear. You see what Allah wants you to see. You see things other people can't see. You see the truth. You see with the light of Allah. So all of the rest of the hadith is talking about the benefits of becoming a wali of Allah. That I become his sight with which he sees, and his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. Means you walk to places that please Allah. I mean, that basically you align yourself with whatever Allah told you to do. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our beloved prophet, he was 100% conformant. He never said anything, never did anything except what Allah loves. And that's when you reach that level, you become one with the way that Allah, the model that Allah put for human beings. And additional benefits is when were he to ask me something, I would surely give it to him. And were he to seek refuge with me, I would surely grant him refuge. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ وَلَئِنْ اسْتَعَاذَنِي لَأُعِيذَنَّهُ. So those are the friends of Allah. When you ask for something, Allah makes it happen if He wishes. And if you seek refuge from something that scares you, or some enemy that's lurking for you, He protects you. He answers your prayer. So performing the obligatory acts and then adding optional acts on top of them gets you closer to that circle. Gets you closer to the awliya Allah. You do the extra. And it's easy to understand, because even in this life, if somebody hires you to do a job and you just do the basic minimum, okay, you're one of the workers. But when you go above and beyond and do things extra and extra, they recognize that and they elevate you if they're smart. And with Allah, He gave us that model. So the more you do for Allah, the closer He brings you. And when He brings you, that's when all of the goodness that Allah promised His servants start materializing. Let's take another hadith that shows yet a different dimension of these awliya Allah. عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من عباد الله لأناس ما هم بأنبياء ولا شهداء يغبطهم الأنبياء والشهداء يوم القيامة بمكانه من الله تعالى. Narrated Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he related from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that says there are people from the servants of Allah who are neither prophets nor martyrs. They're people. They don't have those status. But the martyrs and the prophets envy them on the day of resurrection for their rank with Allah. So the martyrs and the prophets, they envy them. So his companion says, describe them. Who are these people? قال هم قوم تحابوا بروح الله على غير أرحام بينهم ولا أموال يتعاطونها فوالله إن وجوههم لنور وإنهم على نور لا يخافون إذا خاف الناس ولا يحزنون إذا حزن الناس. And then he read the verse ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. So the Prophet ﷺ described them. He said they are people who love one another in the spirit of Allah, for the sake of Allah. They have no kinship, they're not relatives. They have no business dealings. You love these people, these people love each other for the sake of Allah. There is no mutual benefit among them other than to please Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So these people that love each other for Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the prophets and the martyrs envy them, and the good envy. They envy them from their status with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. They have no fear. He said, I swear by Allah, their faces will glow, and they will be sitting in pulpits of light. They will be in the Allah's nur, in His light. They will have no fear on the day when people are fearful, and they will not grieve when people will grieve, because they're protected by Allah. And then he recited the verse, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. So loving each other as a community, loving each other for no ulterior motive than because he is your brother in faith, because you do it for the sake of Allah. Observe yourself. Do you like somebody because he has a job that you can get, or you can elevate your status, or you want nothing from him, you get nothing from him, there is no relationship, there is no kinship, but you love him for the sake of Allah. Just because he's a fellow believer, you love him. Those are the people are among awliya Allah. And love does not stop at feeling. Don't understand, I love you, but I'm not willing to do anything for you. That's not love. Love translates, it starts as a feeling, but it manifests itself in helping, in action. Talk is cheap. You have to prove it with action. So faith is not a theoretical concept. Being a believer, being a Muslim is not some kind of something you put on ID. It's a behavior. It's a belief and a behavior that manifests this belief in action. So it's not a theoretical concept full of habits, rituals, and formalities. It is a close connection with Allah and goodness towards His creation. That's what that is. What the manifestation of faith. Amanu wa amilu salihat. You believe in Allah. You obey Him, and you do good deeds towards your fellow, human beings and even animals and Allah's creation. So the question that comes to mind: can you and I be among awliya Allah? That's a status to strive for, to compete, to reach to that status, and say somebody is a waliullah. Can any one of us reach it? Awliya Allah, sometimes in our narrow thinking, when we think of a wali is not somebody who flies in the air or walks on water. The Quran and the Sunnah tells us that the wali is the one you find him on halal and haram. When it's halal, he's doing it. When it's haram, he's not doing it. When you find him stopping at that, that's what the wali is. Not some mythical creature outside our capabilities. Any believer can aspire to the status of wali. You have to pay the price. You don't get it through wishful thinking. You don't get it through dua. You have to put the effort. So if you establish a connection with Allah, you perform what He obliged you to do, and you do many extra acts on top of it, that's one. You have taqwa, you have God consciousness. You Educate yourself. What is halal? What is haram? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to not do? And you judge your action and your words before you do them by that scale. Does it please Allah? Does it anger Allah? So that's number 2. And you love and support one another as believers and as human beings. So the same opportunity that was available to the companions is available to every one of us. They took it seriously, and they strived and competed, and they reached the high levels. We're lazy. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. We're lazy. Our God is their God. Our prophet is their prophet. Our book is their book. They're human like we are. But they put the effort, and we're lazy. So may Allah help us against our own self, and to strive. We don't want to just be, if you're a student and you just say, I just want to get a D and get a passing grade, you're going to fail. You'll strive for the A, maybe you'll get it, but at least you might get a B. But you have to strive for the big things and put the effort. You don't get that with just praying and with dua. You have to put the effort. And the level of wilaya is like circles. The more you do, the closer you are. You're part of the inner circle. You do a little bit, yeah, you're a distant wali. But you do a lot, now you start getting into the inner circle, and that's where the best of mankind are. So the amount of effort that you're willing to do dictates what level you are, or if you're even in that group. And we should all strive to be in that group. And in this evil time, it's actually a lot easier to be part of the ثُلَّةٌ مِنَ الْأَوَّلِ, ثُلَّةٌ مِنَ الْآخِرِينَ, a few of the later generation, because most people are so rotten. Even believers. I mean, they're believers by name. If you look at them, 1.5 billion. If you need to see who gets up and prays Fajr on time, you're lucky if you get 30%. That's the reality of today. So it's our chance that we show Allah, we are serious, Ya Allah. We want you to be our wali. We want to be supported by you. And here's all of the things that we're going to do, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will choose whoever He wills. But we have to put the effort. There is no easy way to get to that level. It comes with a lot of effort and a lot of sacrifices, and we have to be willing to put it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.